People have joined the other meet link, yeah?
Yeah, some
Yeah,
have.
this meet is full.
Okay, cool.
Bhaskar, I am audible, right?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay.
So just to give you a basic description, like how we'll proceed with the workshop. So we'll be first of all like we'll be teaching you some basic stuff, like what are the basic like layout of a HTML file, and along with that, Pradyum and Abhishek will be showing you like writing the codes of HTML. And you, if you guys have, I'm having some kind of disturbance. So yeah.
I would request everyone else to mute yourself.
Yeah, just a minute.
Bhaskar, I think we can start now.
Just yeah. So like first of all, we'll be teaching you some theory related, some theory and like what are the basic layout of a HTML file. And after that, Pradyum and Abhishek will be showing you how to write the codes for it. As a Sublime or Visual Studio or Atom installed, you could also code along as we teach you. So we'll be starting off with the workshop. Pradyum, could you move to the next slide? Yeah. So yeah. So HTML is a standard markup language for the web pages. It's like the basic skeleton of any web page that you have. So whatever content that you want to show in a web page, that whatever that is written in the HTML. So it tells the browser what content to display. If you want any kind of write-ups, text, images, or videos, all that you have to like for all that you have to write codes in HTML. It's like the basic skeleton of a web page. So we'll show you the basic the basic layout of an HTML file. Pradyum, could you move to the next slide? Yeah. So basic layout of an HTML file, it contains, it starts off with the doc type HTML. So the first line that you're seeing, the doc type HTML, it shows that the file that you're presenting, it's an HTML file. Different tags, HTML tag over here. So that would cover the whole HTML file. And then we have the head tag and a title tag. The title tag that you see is basically the name of the page. So in any kind of like for example, any kind of file that you open, any kind of web page that you open, the name that you see on the like the name on that you see, that is actually a that comes under a title tag, and the body tag, that is the main part. So whatever is visible on a web page, that is actually written inside the body tag. And we have different tags like H1, the header tags, paragraph tags, and many other tags that will be teaching you as you go forward. Yeah. So an HTML element, it's uh, like it's defined by this, like the structure of an HTML element. It has a start tag and some content, like something that you want to display, and followed by end tag. So this is the basic structure of writing any HTML element. And there are different types, like as I've already told, the header tag, paragraph tag, and there are some kind of elements which are like the empty elements. For example, br is actually like if you want to give some break or if you want to move to the next line, we use the BR tag. We also have the HR tag, which is if you want to show some horizontal line in a web page. For that purpose, we use the HR tag, and we also have the div tag and the span tag. Div tag is basically it's it's like keeping many content within one. Like if you want to keep many content within one tag, for that purpose, we use the div tag, and span tag is also used when you want to make some changes within a line. For example, you want to bold a specific word in your line. For that purposes, we use the span tag. Yep. So the HTML attributes, the attributes basically give you further information about the tags. For example, like they give you more information. Like suppose there's a header tag, you want to change the font size of it, or you want to say how much space that will occupy. For that purpose, with different attributes. For example, there's a the the hyperlink tag, which is denoted by A. A is a hyperlink tag, which is it's basically if you want to move to some other links. For that, we have the href attribute. The href attribute will basically give you the URL. So suppose when you click on the welcome, you'll be directed to google.com. And we have different other attributes. For example, in the source tag, we have the image attribute. We have the image attribute. The image attribute will, this is the basically the address of the image that you want to display in a web page. And similarly, we have the height and the width attribute. With that, you can specify the how much space an image should occupy. Next slide.
Should we continue with some examples or yeah, next slide?
There's one more slide. I'll explain, then you can continue.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So like before moving to a CSS, I'll give you a like basic description. Like CSS could like CSS is like it's it's giving like it's styling a web page, and we'll further like we'll be describing what is CSS in more details. But before that, like we have there are three ways in which we could link the CSS file to HTML. It's called using inline CSS, internal CSS, and external CSS. So as you go on, we'll give you examples of how all these three are implemented. Now, Pradyum will show you some example, and you could also code along in your laptops.
Okay, so before starting, as Bhaskar has said, every HTML file has a basic layout. So which can be, so basically there is a parser in any web browser. There is a parser which basically will read through all your HTML files and render them on the screen as how you see it. So it needs to know that this is an HTML file. So there will be certain tags called a doc type that this is an HTML file. A tag will be there called HTML, which will cover your entire HTML file. Okay. So now everything inside this will be visible on your web page. So your head, this is basically used to load some content. We will tell you what that content is specifically, but for now you can see it has something called title. So this title is what you see on the tab bar of your browser. So you can see hello, you can see Google. So this head contains some information. We'll expand on that later. And then after the head ends, you have your body. Now everything you see here is inside a body tag. So for example, this web page, you will be seeing something as hello world. Now this H1 is your heading tag. There are 6 heading tags, H1 through H6. So as you can see, we have H1. Okay, I have copy pasted some. So now you can see they are all the same size. So what I can do is I can call this H2. So this basically is a smaller heading. So when I save this, you'll see that it's a smaller heading. So basically H1 is the largest heading that you can get in an HTML tag. H2 through H6 progressively get smaller. So the smallest one would be H6, which is minute, I would say. So not clearly visible, but you get the point. And then we have some other tags called paragraph tags, where basically it's P and here you can write whatever. This is a paragraph, and then if I save it, it will show up as a paragraph. Now, why tags are important? You could simply just make everything as a paragraph tag, and then use some styling, which we will build on later, to make it look bigger, make it look smaller. The thing is, uh, these tags, they are used by search engines to make better use of your, to suggest you better websites. So let's say you have a heading. It's better to use the designated tag for that heading. If you have an image, you use an image tag. If you have anything else, you use the specific tag. There are many new tags in newer versions of HTML. Uh, you can read more about them. We will give you websites where you can read more about them. But basically, this is the use of tags. It tells what a specific line specifically means. So this is a simple HTML tag. Inside your body, whatever you write will be visible here. Abhishek, would you like to continue?
Yeah. So after that, we have several other tags, like there is another tag called link, so that Bhaskar showed. So this link tag would be, first of all, you can use this to link any style sheet or anything else. And there is another tag called a tag. So that tag would be used to link any website and all. So just uncomment this once, link. Yeah. So we will explain what happens in a style.css later on. But first, just show them the changes by reloading once.
Yeah, so this basically has linked a CSS file to this HTML file. So you can see some heading 1 has specifically changed. And you can see just the heading 1 has changed. Everything else is the same. If I comment out this line again, you'll see they're back to normal. So why has this happened? It is because of a CSS file. CSS file is used to style your web pages. So I'll show you an example of a non-styled web page. This is a website of a professor, which you will be using a book of in your second year, if you are a computer science student. But you can see this is a very, a very bland website to say. You can see there are some links where you can click and go to some other pages, but there is no design. There is no, a field to this website. So you can add a field to a website through CSS. CSS is a short form for cascading style sheets. So what it does is it allows you to change the look and the view of your website. So here is the CSS file for it. So there is some syntactical jargon in a CSS file, but basically this is telling is, if there is an h1 tag, select it, change its color to red, and align it to center. So when I import this CSS file and I save this HTML file, you will see that all the h1s are now red. They are now center aligned. I could have done anything else. I could have changed the size of them. I could have changed uh, location, positioning. There are so many things in CSS, but this is just a basic example.
Yeah, we'll get into the details later on of CSS and other things. But as of now, you can just know this, and we'll just build up on that later on. Another tag would be the link tag. So like if you want to link a web page, as Bhaskar showed in the presentation, a tag actually a. So in that, like this has used. So you can see Massachusetts Institute of Technology. If you click on that, it will lead you to the website of that. Syntax, it's written there, right? Link rel style sheet. Rel shows what kind of link that is, and href shows what file I want to link. What? How representing the screen and coding at the same moment? That can happen. No issues with that. Anyways, moving on. So yeah, this href google.com. So now I have this link over here. It says, hey, if you click on that, it will take you to google.com. So yeah. See. So this is how this is used, and you can use a for in body links as well. So you can link several sections, but that way, that is like something that we'll do later on. but this is how mostly href is used, even in all the cases. And next, just a second. Yeah, so yeah, next tag, moving to the image tag. Okay, so image, with the image tag we can add any particular image that we want. So yeah, so there is an image CSEA logo. Now what you do is in src you write the link or whatever. If it has been stored in your file, then you can put the file path there, or you can put the link there. And alt means what text you would like to write if it's not visible for some reason. Like if it's a link, it might be possible that we are not able to fetch the image, so alt is the alternate text that will show. Okay, then another, yeah, before we go into deep, we'll all this commenting and non-commenting that you see. So how so comment is written in a particular form in HTML. So you open a first of all, the best way is to control and backslash. So if you select a line and press control plus backslash, it simply comments the line. If you select multiple lines and press control plus backslash, it will comment it as well. So this is how you comment, and comments are very important. You should always make it a practice to put comments in your HTML file, because honestly these files become very long when you are doing any when you are making any complex website. Not even for complex website, even for simple websites, they become very long and can get harder to track. Okay, so that is how you would comment. Now before we move to some big specific structures, let us talk about small things like divisions. Yes, divisions. So division is basically you make them to actually divide the web page into several blocks. Okay, it is basically what it means. So as of now, you might not be able to see its relevance, but when you start adding classes and all to your web page, it becomes relevant how divisions should be used. Okay, so basically make it a practice that you add divisions everywhere in your page. Even in your body, the first thing should be a division. Then if you want to divide it into several parts, make those many divisions. Then in a particular division, what you want to do, so make those many divisions as well. And when later on, when we go to Bootstrap and all, we'll start using grids. So grids would actually define how we need to divide our web page into proper sections. Okay.
Yeah, I'll just explain the basic need for division. So you can see this website. So it will have a lot of content in it. So let's say I go to somewhere like this, okay, this page. Now you can see it has a navigation bar on top. It has some place to show in category. It has a table, and then it has another table here. So what you could do is you could separate out these things into different divisions. So why it is good is, as your code gets longer and longer, it's better to have a small modular parts which you can edit later on. So let's say if you have something which is just this much, so editing this much will be easier than going through the HTML code of this whole thing, right? So I will try and show you the HTML code for this. So you can see how long an HTML code can get for a website. Like this is a very long code. It's even crossing 4,000, 5,000 lines, and it's still not over. So if you are making a website like this, and then you need to do something, and now it's very difficult for you to specifically find out where is what. So if you have different divisions where related content is placed together, you could definitely put it in a division. Now in HTML5, there are a few tags which can replace division. So we will tell you about those later. It's better to use those new tags, but you don't have to remember anything and everything by heart. In HTML, almost every single problem that you face, you can absolutely Google it, as long as you know what you're Googling, which is the most important thing. So let's say you want to embed an image, okay? You just Google how to embed an image in an HTML file. You'll get so many different websites which will be explaining you the basics. So you don't have to be scared that I need to remember this exact syntax. I need to remember, all this, the boilerplate code which we need for an HTML file. You can find these online. You just need to know what you need at what time. So which you will get through practice.
Yeah. So
Pradyum also showed them. Okay, continue.
just one line. The thing that you need to do, what Pradyum is trying to say, is ki get the intuition within yourselves ki what we need to search. Okay, like Googling is actually a good skill. You need to know what you are Googling. So just practice it and build the intuition on what you have to search. Yeah, Bhaskar, continue.
Yeah, Pradyum also showed them how to use the inspect element feature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there will be a time where you need to see that, okay, things are not actually lining up as I would like them to. Okay, you can see there is so much empty space over here. What is causing so much empty space? So, but you're not able to see it clearly right now. So, what happens specifically in Chrome is Chrome has very good developer tools for you to be able to debug your websites. So you can right click and you can go inspect. This will bring up and inspect the console over here. Now you can see whatever our HTML code that we wrote over here is visible here because that is what our browser is displaying. Now you can see that this image, okay, when I click over this image, it has a lot of empty space around it. So now that I know that this empty space is caused by this image. So now if I want to remove it, I can quickly change something in my code. Whatever is required, I can do that. So yeah, so here, if you right click and inspect element, you can see this. Now the difference is, there is one more thing which this can help you with is, nowadays people use their websites using not just your standard large desktop screens, they are smaller mobile screens as well. So what looks good on your monitor will definitely not look good on your phone. You must have seen there are so many websites which are completely unusable on mobile, but some of them they work just like your normal mobile apps. So what is that? What is that called? So that is making your making your website responsive. So it means it should respond to your screen size. So if you want to see how this website would look like on a smaller phone device, you can quickly click here and select any phone that you want. Let's say I want an iPhone. So this is how it would look like on an iPhone. I wouldn't want it to look like this because this is very small. Like this text is very small. And we will tell you how to make it more responsive using some other tools. But yeah, this is how you can use your uh, inspect element and developer tools to see how your website would look like on different devices, how you can debug, that is remove some errors in your website. So things like that. Uh, should I explain some CSS topics as well while I'm at it, Bhaskar?
Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah. So, okay. So you can see we applied CSS over here, which was described in this file, text align center and color red. So if you find out the h1 tag, which is here, okay, and you can see the h1 has been applied a color and a center. Now there are a few more things which you can see here. You can see there is some margin to it. There is some padding. There is a content. So using this using CSS, you can also change the padding, margin, and everything else on your content. So let's say if I want to make this image small, I can click on it. I can see that there is absolutely no padding. So there definitely means this entire size is my image size, and I cannot change the padding around it. I need to definitely change the size. So now I know what to Google. I need to Google how to change size of an image in an HTML. If we see this paragraph, you can see this paragraph has a margin of 16. It has no padding. It has no border. So now you know what your each and every one of your HTML element has. So basically, this can be used to check your code. It can be used to change your code and then actively develop your code. So let's say if I'm on a small screen, okay, this is very small, and I can see why is it very small over here, because the size is specified like hard coded over here. So I will quickly change that, and you will know how to change that later on. But yeah, using CSS you can do this. Okay, so I think we can continue with the PPT presentation. We will explain more about the practical in some time, but we'll continue with the PPT for now. Oh, I didn't explain the inline and internal. Okay, just 1 second. So we
Yeah,
had a
explain.
separate CSS file. We imported this CSS file using this. Now, whatever is in that CSS file, we are being able to use it, see the results of in this. Now, what if you don't want to use a separate CSS file? What you can do is you can have a tag called style. Okay, so if there is a tag called style, you can specify whatever you did in this CSS file. You can specify it in this tag. So 1 second. Yeah, so once you do that, uh, so you have this h1. I can specify this same exact thing, just that it's in my HTML file and it will work the exact same way. And also, this is known as internal CSS, I think. And if you want, you can specify style for each HTML tag as well. So you can see the this was the style for internal. This was external, which we imported another file. And inline is basically, I have an h2. I can just say style color red, and it will do the exact same thing. I can just show you. So we have h1, h6. Okay, style is equals to color, and I can have it as red. So you can see it's very small, but you can see that the h6 color has changed to red. So yeah, these are the different types where you can import styles. We can continue with the presentation.
Yeah, so as Pradyum and Abhishek has already told you about some like different tags, like the link tag and the image tag. We'll look at some more tags. So let's move on. Pradyum, am I audible?
Yeah, you're
Yes.
audible.
Yeah. Okay. Starting off with the input tag. So the input tag is basically like, suppose you want to log into some site and they ask you a user ID and the password. So whatever input that you're giving in the web page, for that purpose we need to use the input tag. Not only for user ID, password, there are different inputs that, for example, there are buttons, there are submit buttons, check boxes, and like uh, like suppose we want to enter a date of birth and so on. So for all these inputs that the user has to give to the web page, for that purpose we need the input tag. So there are different types of input tag. So one is the text. So how to define, like there are different types of inputs. So how to define which input that we're basically using, whether it's button or text or password. For that we use the type attribute. The type attribute are different values like text, button, and by looking at that we can actually see what type of what type of input that we're getting from the user. Like there's one input type which is called text, which defines a single line text input field. And there's the password field. If you type the password field, whatever you enter, the so whatever you enter, it won't be actually be shown. It will be shown like dot dot dot. How, like suppose when you enter the password when you log into Facebook, and then we also have the input type submit, where like you have entered the details, now to submit the details. For that purpose, we use the submit type. In addition to that, we also have button, date of birth, etc. So we'll be showing you with examples. So let's move on to the next tag. This is a image tag. They've already explained you the image tag. The main two attributes are the source and the alternate. So source is basically the URL, the address of where the image is found, and where we are inserting that image in a web page. And ALT, that is in in case the link is broken, the image didn't get loaded, or suppose the internet connection isn't working or something like that. So whatever is written in ALT, so that would be actually shown. Suppose in ALT it's written like alternate text. So if the image doesn't get loaded, that whatever part is written within the inverted commas, that would be displayed in a web page. Yeah. Coming to the forms tag. So yeah, the form tag is basically used to collect user input. The user input that is sent to the HTML file is basically
I think Bhaskar has just lost connection.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
it's okay. We'll continue.
yeah, yeah. So see,
Yeah.
the forms tag is basically it is used to collect user input. Okay, and it is, yeah, understand it like a, instead of having every input and labels and everything scattered around, we better put it in a container so that we can know that this section is the form where we need to take user input and send it whatever we need to do. Okay, so in forms, form tag is used for that, and it has several attributes which we will explain later on. It has several, elements like input, label. You can understand, like if I'm writing name and after that I have a text box, so name is the label of that. Then we have select, when we need to select something out of a box. Text area, when sometimes they ask you to write a comment, so there is a big area where you have to write a comment. That is a text area. Button is pretty self-explanatory. So I guess, yeah, this you can see. So this big one is a text area. These two are text boxes, and this send message, that is a button. Okay, and this is a CSEA website, and this your name and all that, these are labels. So I think, yeah, HTML links. So HTML links, I explained earlier as well. So href is basically you have to write a URL there and some text which will be highlighted as the URL. Okay, you will be redirected whenever, the moment you click on it. Next. Yeah. So this is the table tag. Table tag we will also explain properly later on. So the table, it is basically pretty self-explanatory. You can say that it is used to make a table, and each row would be defined with a table row tag, which is the tr tag, and table header will be defined with a table header or a th tag, and table data cell would be table data or td tag. Okay. So how it is used, we will show you with a example. So I guess we can continue with the example. Yeah. So first go to tables. Yeah. So Pradyum, you can continue with the tables.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So as we said, almost every website has a table, some sort of a table. So you have something called a table tag. This will contain your one table. It will have a table row, which is a tr tag. So every row will be separated using a tr tag, and then every row has data, so which is enclosed using a table data td tag. And also the first row of a table is usually a heading, so you can use a table heading for putting heading for your tables. So I will just quickly open this. Yeah, so as you can see, the first is a table. There are three table rows, and the first one is table heading. Then there are two rows which contain the data. So you can see there's a heading is a first name, last name, age. Uh, all the content which is there, it is separated out using a table. This is a very boring table. This does not look interesting at all. So you can use um, you can use CSS to make this table look good. There are many different ways to do that, but yeah. And then there is another. This is a line break, so it puts a separate line over here. And then you can have, sometimes tables have one column which covers two columns as heading. So you can do that using an attribute called call span. So what this will do is this one heading covers this table data as well as this table data. So there are many ways to customize your tables, which you can read about online. We will tell you where exactly to read all this from, but definitely you don't need to remember all these tags and everything. And then, as Abhishek has explained, there are forms. So as you've seen, forms are also almost in every website. So basically, if I want to enter my first name, if I want to enter my last name, this gives me a collected place for me to collect my input. Basically, I could have just used input and input 2 times, but if it's enclosed in a form, you will know later on that it has a better use basically. So there are a few things in a form. So basically, this was just a text, and we can use some other things which I will be showing. So this is a radio selection. This means you can select any one of these options, as you have seen. So these are known as radio selections. It is an input tag, just that the type is different. And yeah, that's a radio selection. And you have something more called a checkbox. So as you've seen, radio, only one thing can be selected at a time. In a checkbox, you can select multiple things. I'm sure you're familiar with all this, but it's just that there is specific naming to these. So this is a checkbox. I hope it's visible to you. So this is a checkbox. You can just have a type as checkbox, type as radio, and it will change the display accordingly. HTML will handle all that for you. And then there is, one second. Yeah, so now obviously a form needs a submit button. So you can just apply this, what do you call it? A submit button over here, which is also an input, and it will automatically be styled like this. So now what happens is when I click this submit button, I will be taken to wherever the form is directing me. So how did I know I will go there? It's because the form had an action. Now this is one benefit of using a form is, sometimes when you submit a form, you get redirected to their home page or redirected to thank you for filling this data. So you can do that using action, this thing. So action leads me to a Google page. So when I click submit, it will take me to the Google homepage. So that's it about form. We will explain you where you can read more about these in just a minute. There are other things, as we have explained, the image tag, which you have obviously seen before. So, and tables I have explained. Okay. So should I explain about the website where they can read more about it, Abhishek?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So there are two websites. I like this one better than the other one. One is W3 Schools. Another one is this. We will be sharing all the links. You don't have to worry. So you can see there are 12 lessons. So you can see lesson 2 is getting to know HTML. They will tell you more about divisions and spans. You can read more about them in detail over here. You will have your code. You will have everything over here. You can. They tell you about headings. They tell you about how to bold text, how to italicize text. And as I said, div tag is used to divide a web page into several divisions. So you can see there is a header, there is a section, there is a side. Sometimes websites have a sidebar. So there's a sidebar, there is a footer in the bottom. So, okay, footer is very far down. Okay, so this is how you can separate. So this can be one div, this can be one div, this can be one div. So now what, in HTML5, what happens is, your code needs to be more informative. So there are different tags. There is a tag called a header tag. So instead of a div, it works just like a div. It's just that it is called header. So someone when reading your code knows that, okay, this is a header, this is a section, this is a footer. So you can read about all these tags in the website. We will be sharing everything with you. Not you don't have to worry. And then CSS. So my internet is slow. Yeah, so CSS will be telling you about different, this will be styling a paragraph to this background, to this font size. And then you can have different things. You can, okay, so yeah, classes in a div. So let's say there are 10 headings as we have seen in our previous website, which was the basic. So one second. So here I had 4 heading ones. I changed this color of heading 1 to red, and every single one of the heading ones changed to red. I do not want that. I just want my first 2, or I just want some selected heading ones to turn into red. So what you can do is you can give a class. You can give a class to that heading. Okay. And now whichever element has this class, you can apply styling to this class specifically, and whichever heading whichever element has this class, it will get this styling. So if I give heading 1 a task of, let's say, a class of, let's say, red, and then I switch the color to red, only those headings will change whose class is red. So whose class is, yeah, red. So this website will tell you in detail about all of these styling. And because to be honest, this is not something you can learn over a course. You can learn these using uh, by actually going through the process of developing a website. So once you do that, you will slowly start getting into it. Yes, I think we should continue with the presentation. We will share these links. Once again, I'll put it in the meet.
Yeah. So
I hope someone else can put it in the other meet as well.
Yeah, Sufyan can put it in the other meet.
Okay, move to the next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the list tag. Okay. So like there will be need for putting list on your websites, right? So there are 2 types of lists that we make. One is unordered list, the bullet points and all that, and ordered list is 1, 2, 3, 4 ABCD and all that. Okay. So for example, you can see there is an ordered list. So OL is when you start the tag that defines that this is a list, and LI is the list item. LI stands for list item. So as you can see, OL, CSE, triple E, and all that. So yeah, here you can see that there is an unordered list called with coffee, tea, milk. So you can see there are these bullet points. Then there is an ordered list, coffee, tea, milk. So 1, 2, 3, and then there is this DL. Okay. So as you can see, this it writes coffee. Then DD would just indent it a bit, and then the same with this as well. So these are the 3 kinds of lists that you can make. Yeah. And
Yeah, and
this is
absolutely,
the
you don't
default.
have to remember. You don't have to remember all of this. You will
Exactly,
be able to find everything online. So
yes,
yeah,
iframe बता दे हाँ.
iframe tag is basically when you want to embed something else on your page. So let's say I want to embed a YouTube video. How will I do that? You can do that using iframe tag. So I will just quickly show you the iframe tag in action. One second. Yeah, so this is an iframe tag. So you can see it showed me the YouTube video in my website. Now, how does it actually work is, I'll be explaining in just a second. So you specify iframe, you give the width and the height which you want. You have the source of your content, uh, and then you have a title. And all of this, we can call it boilerplate code. So how did I get it? You can just go to YouTube. You can go to share option, and then there is an option called embed. So you can do that, and then it will give you the exact code that you need to paste in order to get this. It might be visible from here. Okay, one second. Yeah, yeah. So we have this. So if you share it over here, and then it will give you a bunch of options. You have this embed, and then you get the entire code. You can just copy it. and then you can paste it in your website, and it will embed it into your website, and it can be played here as well. Just a point to note that the uploader has to enable playing your video in embedded mode, as this one does not allow, but this one allows. So yeah, these are some things which you need to take care about. But yeah, this is it about the iframe. Absolutely, it doesn't have to be a YouTube video. It can be a website also. So you can look more about it through the links which we have shared. And yeah, I'll continue with the explanation of CSS. So CSS, as we have said before, it is used for styling your websites. Normal HTML files don't look that good. So you can select your, let's say there is something called the H1 tag. You can select tags using this syntax, which is, this will select a paragraph, a P tag. If I write here H1, it will select a H1 tag. Now what happens is, you can give ID to specific elements. So giving ID is as simple as just writing here, instead of width, you can just write ID equal to blah. So now this will be the ID of this element. Now, as it is ID, it has to be unique. No two elements can have the same ID. So if you have an ID, that is basically a way of individually selecting an element. So you can select your ID over here, and it will give whatever styling is in this block to an element with this specific ID. And as I said, as I mentioned about classes, classes are a way of bunching up elements together. So let's say I want these specific header tags to look red. I can give them a same class name, and I can select a class name in my CSS file and style it as like whatever I want. And it will, and the difference is, you can select tags by just naming them. You can select ID using a pound, a hash sign. You can select classes by following with a dot, and you can select multiple elements as well. So let's say I want all of my heading ones in paragraph to be center aligned. I'm going to select them using H1, H2, like this list can go on, and then center align all of them. So this is basic CSS. Uh, you can obviously read more about these in the links which we have provided. So yeah, now this can get very tedious. So let's say you're a developer working on 4 websites. Okay, you want your website to have a navigation bar. So I'll show you a example website. Okay, so this is my navigation bar over here. Here you can see some options which is like submit a link, login, register. Okay, and now you want this to, when using a mobile or a smaller screen, it should collapse like this, and it should, on clicking this button, it should just show a drop down menu. Now don't get me wrong, coding this is possible using CSS, JavaScript, HTML, but why would you do that for every single website that you're making? There should be a certain library which you can use, which just provides you simple, easy to use, easy to customize components. So by this I mean is, it should give me something like, let's say, a nav bar, which I can just put it in any of my websites and it should just work. It should give me a heading which looks good on mobiles. So as you can see, I'll do the inspect thing once again, and I'll show you why this is important. So as you can see, this on the same device, you can see this is still an H1 tag. You can see that clearly. This is an H1 tag over here, but it looks bigger than the one which I had showed you before using just the HTML file. So now this hello world is also an HTML tag, H1 tag, but it looks very small. But this one looks, well, good for a phone. So how do you make it responsive like that? Yeah, I'm sorry. So how do you make it responsive like that? So people, basically developers, have made your life easy by developing easy to use reusable CSS library called Bootstrap. I think it's a framework. I'm sorry, my terminology might not be correct, but Yeah. So this is a framework for building responsive and mobile-first sites, and it makes styling a web page simple and easy. What do I mean by this? Okay, I'll show you the Bootstrap homepage to explain you more about this. So you can simply Google, let's say, get Bootstrap. Okay, and the first website which you get is the website I'm talking about. Okay, so this is that website. So basically, what does it tell me? Okay, so now I'm parallelly going to teach you, not teach you, just like explain you how you could use online resources to your benefit, we can say. So this is a homepage, and this is a docs. This is a documentation of this framework. Okay, so what do you need? You need to quick start from it. Yes, absolutely. So it has some random code. I do not understand all this. You don't need to understand all this. You can see that there is a starter template. Okay, great. So you're going to copy the starter template. You're going to make a new HTML file, uh, boot.html. Okay, great. I'm going to paste it here. Okay, we can just see what the starter website looks like. I'm going to close all this, all the content. Okay, great. So it has some random things in the head. Okay, we can ignore that for now. It has a h1 tag, which is hello, and it tells me not to remove all of these. One second, I'll just close it. This is something which Bootstrap requires you to have. There are three things. You need to have their CSS. You need to have their JavaScript. You don't need to understand all this. This is just the starter template which they have provided. Okay, great. I'm going to use their starter template to make my website. Okay. So you can see this h1 tag of this website looks very different than the one which I had in my other. This is my h1 tag. This looks very different. So basically, Bootstrap has changed styling for you, and now it will automatically give you some components. It will give you some things which you can use to style your website very quickly. And I'll explain what I mean by this. So we can quickly jump into components. So okay, so these components have, there is content forms. Okay, great. So yeah, so these forms, as we have just explained, you saw they looked very normal, nothing great in them. So let's see how their forms look like. So we can go to overview of their forms. Okay, great. As you can see, they have a code for their form, and I'm just gonna copy paste this exact thing. And you can see that it looks much better. Okay, it is expanded to the whole screen. I'll tell you what that means, but it definitely looks much better, more unified. You know, when you click on a text box, it gets highlighted. When you click here, it's just nicely spaced, and it's, you know, easy to use. And now when I get to a smaller screen, you can see it has scaled down, and then it still looks very good in a smaller screen. So this is what Bootstrap does. It gives you very easy to use components, easy to use stuff in HTML, in CSS, which you can use to style your own website. So as you can see, there are some things which are here. You're familiar with the form type, which we have just explained. There is input, there is label, there is a button, there is div classes. So what happens is it gives you different classes. So so we will see that this class, one second. This has a class called a form label. This has a class called form control. So basically, it gave you some ready-to-use classes. Now you can use these to implement better looking things. As you saw, the submit button in my normal HTML looked very bad, but in this button looks very good. Like, it's a style button. It has a proper border color. If I click on it, it will give me some, you know, reaction as well. So yeah, so it gives you ready to use stuff. So I would suggest you go through basics of CSS first, so you can understand all of this. uh, so basically, using Bootstrap is as simple as going to their website, uh, you know, going to their documentation, copying their getting started template. This is their getting started, and it is still very familiar to you. There is an HTML tag, there is a doc type tag, there is head, there is body, and here whatever you write will be your website content basically. So I'll go through the presentation and explain you more a little bit slowly. So there are a few containers in Bootstrap. Okay, it might sound a little bit confusing right now, but it will get easier as you go through practically experience all these. So okay, what is a container? So what they do is, you can see that there is something here, there is something here, there is something here. I want all of them to line, horizontally like this. So what they have is something called a container. So container is somewhere over here, layout. Yeah. So we can read more about containers in this documentation. I do not remember any of this by heart. I go through the documentation, I understand it, and then I quickly use it. So containers are fundamental building block of Bootstrap that contain, pad, and align your content. Great. So how do they work? It has some blah, 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 blah. It tells me, okay, I can give a class container to use a default container. Okay, great. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a div. Okay, great. I'm gonna put up my form inside this div. Okay, and now I'm gonna give it a class as class equals to container. Okay, now I save it. Now you see the difference. The difference was this was extended to the whole screen before my form, but now my form has some padding over here. So you can see the job of a container is to space content. Basically, is to contain content in your web page. Uh, yes, Bootstrap has pre-built unique styles, and that's what makes it easy. So if I have 10 forms in my normal CSS, I would have to write my own manual CSS, make sure that it works for mobile, make sure that it doesn't break, make sure it is reactive like this. But using Bootstrap, everything is there for you. Everything has been documented properly in their documentation. You just need to know how to use it. And it is very easy. It is just CSS on steroids, basically. So this container, you can actually check the container source code. I would recommend not to, but you can check it. So what a container does is, once again, where is my website? Yeah. So container put some space here. Now, as I said, you can see how things work using inspect. So we're going to see how things work using inspect. So I'm going to make it responsive again. I'm going to increase the size so you can see a little bit. And you can see my container class is the whole thing. Okay. And what did I say? It provides you padding and everything, right? So as we said, it gave me some space over here. This is known as padding in CSS. And you can see it has given me 12 padding. And so this is how it works. A container contains this form inside of it. It nicely spaces everything out. So things are better looking on your screen. Abhishek, if I go on for too long, you can interrupt me.
Yeah. Okay.
And now there is something called MB3. What is MB3? I do not know. We can look it up here, and that is completely okay. So what happens is, okay, this container has something. Now I want to place something below it. How do I do it? So each container has something called rows, and I do not know exactly where rows are in this documentation, but I think you can search it also. Yeah, you can search it also. So you can search row. Okay, great. Grid system. Okay, row columns. So how does it work? So as I said, I want 3 things to be here. Okay, so you can have 3 things like this. So how does it actually, how do you get 3 things to be on this thing? So there is code for it for you. So you can just understand it over here. You have a div, it has a class container. Inside it, there is a row. And then it has inside row, there are 3 divs, which have a column class. Okay, so what happens is a row uh, is what it is here. It is a row. Now, if you have one thing over here, it will show you just one thing. I'm just going to copy paste this code so you can see me editing it. Inside a container. Okay, I'm going to make a new container. Okay. Yeah, so, okay, it did not work. Got it. Okay. Once again, I may not be able to have two containers. Let me just copy the row. Okay, it's still not right. Interesting. Okay, right. I will explain how I know it. So basically, each container, you can have multiple rows of things. So this explains you exactly how it works. You can read through this. There are many options also, and you can specify uh, uh, how all of your columns look and everything. You can read through this documentation to understand what it is. I might have made some mistake on the spot, so that's why it's not working. Usually, all of the things, not usually, everything mentioned in this documentation works exactly how it needs to. There is no issue in this. So, what a row does is it divides your screen uh, into 12 blocks. Okay, so basically, even if your screen is this small, there will be 12 blocks over here. Even if the screen is like this big, there will be 12 blocks over here. Now you can decide if you want something to occupy, let's say, uh, 1/4 of your screen. You can give it 3 out of those 12 blocks. So how does that work? That basically works using you have a row. Okay, a row is just a division with a class called row, and then you can give it, let's say, a column class. So a column is the one block which a row gives you. So you can see it is giving it column small 8. So this gives it 8 blocks uh, out of the 12. It gives it 4 blocks out of the 12. So this is basically used to style your content. It is hard to explain it like this. You can get it with practice, and also if you just go through this documentation, watch maybe one YouTube video, you will understand all of this, or what this means. So this call 6 means give it 6 blocks. Call 4 means give it 4 blocks. So that's how Bootstrap basically lays things out for you. As you can see on this website, I'm gonna, like, there are 4 things over here. So what I could have done is 3 blocks to this, 3 blocks to this, 3 to this, 3 to this, and that's how I got 4 things to work here. If I get the screen to be smaller, you can see there's just 1 block now, there's 2 now. So that's how Bootstrap can help you. I'm not going into too much depth, as it will be not that easy to uh, understand right now. So we have learned about container. We have learned about grids. Grid is what I just showed you here. The container row and column thing. Yeah, and there are a few more components. As I said, there is a navbar component. There are cards. There is carousel. There are buttons. So I'm sorry, this is extending a bit too much, but I'll just show you through this. So as I said, these are components. You can go to the documentation. You can see the components. There is a card. Okay, great. What does a card look like? A card looks like this. So I would say this is a card. So you can understand how to use cards. So you can see by using just this much code, you got a very good looking card on your website. So this is what I mean by that Bootstrap makes things easy for you to do. You can read more about this. You can have a card title, a card subtitle over here. And as we said, there is a carousel. Okay, there are nav bars. So how do nav bars work? Okay, let me find nav bars. Okay, nav bar is here. How does the nav bar look like? It looks like this, where you can, you have different drop downs. It is something which you see on your top. Basically, this is your nav bar. If I scroll down, it goes up. You can have a different setting. Like in this, if I scroll down, the nav bar stays up. So there are different things in nav bar. So you can read more about a nav bar over here. It can have different subtitles over here. If you decrease the size, it will give you a nice little button over here to click, and then basically it doesn't look cluttered on your mobile. That's what it helps you with, Bootstrap. And then you have carousel. A carousel is basically the sliding images. Where is it? Yeah. So you can have multiple sliding images using carousel. All the code which you need is right here. All you need to do is understand how they're using it and just put your own content in it. If you don't understand anything, just Google it and you can find it. So these are, yeah, your carousel and buttons. Yeah, as you've seen before, buttons look very ugly in normal CSS. So Bootstrap gives you very good looking buttons. So I would say these, by using just one line of code, you can get a button looking like this, a button looking like this. There are different colors for a button. There are different types. Where I hover over it, it should do this. So this is just a one line thing, and code for everything is right here. You can have a larger button, smaller button. Uh, yeah. So basically, there are different components which Bootstrap gives you. You can use those components to make your website look more beautiful. Abhishek, you can continue.
Yeah.
I think I spoke for
So
too long.
yeah, okay. So see, first of all, after all this, we are almost at the end of this session. So first of all, before I get into these websites, I would like to tell you guys, कि the way you when you're starting out in web development, the way you approach it is by incremental development. So all those things that Pradyum just showed you on Bootstrap, it is absolutely imperative that you guys actually go through it and you simply copy the code and build up on it. Okay, no need to remember all the classes. There are way too many classes to remember. Okay, so there is no need to remember things in that. There is no need, you just need to remember where you would find it. Okay, most of the stuff you would find on Bootstrap documentation, because it is one of the best documentations that I have ever seen in anything. Okay, so it is really well explained, everything is there, so there is no need to go for a lot of things. Simply just go on Bootstrap's documentation site, getbootstrap.com, and simply like copy code from there and build up whatever you want to do based on that. Okay, this is the get bootstrap thing. Just go through the documentation once. It will help you build the intuition of actually how you want to develop your website. Okay, next would be codepen.io. Codepen.io people usually use for amazing CSS styling. Okay, like there are a lot of things on Codepen that you can't even imagine, and they have made it using only CSS, mostly CSS at least. W3 Schools is the most basic website that you can use for this learning web development. It has everything that you need, like from basic to end. It has properly well documented everything. There are simple examples, not too complex examples. And yeah, so these three, focus on, like if you want some good CSS, get it from codepen.io, or some good JavaScript as well, you can get from codepen.io. From W3 Schools, it will help you to start out on CSS, HTML and all. So you want to start out with this, go through W3 Schools. Okay, learn all the things from there. You will gradually build the intuition of how to actually code in HTML. Okay, and next will be getbootstrap.com, which will go through the documentation once and use their code to actually build up on it. Okay, next. Yeah, so with this we reach at the end of our first session. So thank you guys for joining, and make sure that you check out all the things. Make sure that we'll send you all the codes. You can just use them and see how it works for you. And tomorrow we'll be teaching how all these elements can actually interact with you, like make it interactive a little bit, add functions to it, see what all we can do. Okay, so we'll send you the codes. Just go through Get Bootstrap, W3 Schools, if you want CodePen as well. So just go through the basics, write a little bit of code yourself as well, so that it gives you the practice of it. And yeah, thank you for joining. We'll see you tomorrow, and then later on we'll also have this session on 17th, where we'll teach you how to deploy this as well, like a final web page that you have made with HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, and JavaScript. JavaScript we'll teach tomorrow. So we'll tell you how to deploy on GitHub, and it will be a really big plus point on your resume as well. So
And one more thing,
yeah.
just a second. I will just tell you the tools which we have used today. The development environment which you can see over here is called VS Code, and you can just get it by searching get VS Code. It's from Microsoft. It is a very good IDE. It is a little bit complicated for first time users. So if you want something simpler, there are things called Atom, which is also uh, uh, a text editor basically. There is something called Sublime Text. We will provide you links for these. I don't have them right now, but I will definitely make sure to get them sent to you. Yeah, so I have been using an extension. As you can see, whatever I was doing the changes over here, they were quickly being reloaded on my browser. So for that, there is an extension called Live Server. So there is this extension called Live Server. So once you do that, whenever you can just quickly click here, uh, which will just start your server on this URL, and it will open it in your browser. And whenever you edit your HTML file, it will automatically reload your page, and you will be able to quickly see what are the changes you're making. Yeah, so that is your live server, and there are many things. You have quick auto completion in VS Code. I personally like VS Code. You might not, and that is okay. You can, since you're beginning, you can check out your options and try whatever you like. And absolutely do not go through the Bootstrap documentation right away. You will not understand much. I would recommend you go through a simple HTML, CSS, basic. Once you know those, you will understand Bootstrap a lot better. We have
Yeah.
given one link for getting to know HTML. There is W3 Schools. We'll give you all the links. So go through those ones. Practice. Just take a simple website. I would say this is he's like one of the most reputed CS professors. He has such a simple website. If you want, you can just replicate this exact website. And if you find something to be very, difficult, okay, how did he get this over here? You can do what I told you. You can inspect your element, and then you can select it. Okay, this is the part which I need to see, and you'll get the source code over here. You might not understand some things because they are probably using their own CSS, but that is okay. You can, go through these code. You have your horizontal line break. I'm telling you this website because this is using the most basic HTML that you can find. So yeah, so this will be very interesting project for you to build. It's very simple, but it's good for beginners. It might be boring in the beginning, but it does get better when you use cool stuff like
Yeah.
Bootstrap.
Just learn how to make the basic skeleton structure first, as Pradyum said. So go through HTML, basic HTML, CSS, and all that with all this, and then go to Bootstrap. And at last, when you are like totally confident that I know all this, at last go to CodePen, because CodePen is like a little bit higher level than this, like a
Yeah,
lot
and
of
on
stuff.
CodePen you can just test out your stuff. You can
Yeah,
code whatever you want. So if you do not want to download any IDE, you just want to code HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you can go to codepen.io and start coding there.
yeah,
You don't have to set up anything over there. You can even use Bootstrap in codepen.io. So yeah, I think that is it from our side. Closing remarks from Bhaskar or Abhishek would be
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. So thank you for attending the session. For tomorrow, we have JavaScript, like whatever you taught. So whatever web page that you could make using HTML, CSS, that is basically static. So suppose you want to give some kind of input or not. Suppose you want to give some input, and suppose there's like some kind of submit button. And when you click on it, you want some function to execute. All those functions we use JavaScript for a purpose. So we'll be covering the main JavaScript topics tomorrow. So hopefully you'll be joining that session. And thank you for attending once again.
yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy. You can leave now if you want. If there are any doubts, you can just type it in the chat, or you can unmute and speak.
Or you can just message our Instagram page.
Yeah,
We will be responding to it. If you need any help, anything. Yeah, thank you for attending.
thank you for attending, guys.
सुफियान, जो लिंक के साथ सारे मैसेज भेजेंगे ना, उसमें इंस्टा का लिंक भी भेज देना, अभी बहुत लोग ने छोड़ दिया।
Okay, भैया, like I'll take care of that.
हाँ हाँ ठीक है।
चलो, I'll end the meeting. Bye.
बढ़िया था ना भाई?